Hello, FluentCast listeners. Welcome back to another episode where we help you learn English while diving into interesting and real-world topics. I'm Diego, your host and teacher at Fluent English Academy. Today, we're tackling something huge, the 2024 U.S. elections. But before we get into all that, I just want to remind you all, if you're listening on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us keep making these episodes for you. And it's a great way to keep improving your English vocabulary and listening skills. All right, let's get started. Today, we'll talk about what's happening in the U.S. elections right now. There's a lot going on, and we want to help you not only understand the news, but also learn some useful English vocabulary. Okay, so first, let's warm up with some keywords that are super helpful when you're talking about elections. We'll keep it nice and simple, so don't worry if some of these are new to you. The first word is candidate. A candidate is a person who is running for a job or position. In the election, a candidate is someone who wants to be the president. Right now, we have Kamala Harris and Donald Trump as the main candidates. Kamala Harris is the Democratic candidate, and Donald Trump is the Republican candidate. Easy, right? Next word, vote. When you vote, you choose the person you want to win. Americans will vote in November to decide who will be the next president. Remember, the word vote can be a verb, like I will vote, or a noun, like my vote counts. Here's another important one, debate. A debate is when candidates talk about their ideas and answer questions. It's like a big discussion where they try to show why they are the best choice. Harris and Trump may have debates where they discuss things like the economy, healthcare, and immigration. And finally, polls. Polls are surveys that ask people who they are planning to vote for. You might hear, the polls say Kamala Harris is leading, or the polls show the race is very close. So polls are a way to see what people are thinking before the election. All right. Now that we've got some basic vocabulary, let's jump into what's happening in this election. It's been a wild ride so far. A lot has happened, and it's not your typical election. So, Joe Biden, the current president, was expected to run again, right? But after a rough debate where people said he didn't do so well, he decided not to run. Instead, he supported his vice president, Kamala Harris, to be the Democratic candidate. Now, this is a big deal because Kamala Harris would be the first female president if she wins. She's also someone who has a lot of experience in government, and her campaign is all about helping the middle class, protecting the environment, and making sure everyone has access to healthcare. So, if you hear the word campaign, that's just a fancy way of saying the actions or plans a candidate makes to win the election. On the other side, we have Donald Trump. Now, you've probably heard of him before. He was the president from 2016 to 2020, and he's trying to get back into office. Trump's campaign is more focused on immigration, taxes, and business, but he's also been really controversial. A lot of people disagree with his ideas, especially when it comes to how he talks about immigrants and his role in the January 6th Capitol riot. Now, this is where it gets interesting. People are really split on who they support. If you look at the polls, they show that Kamala Harris has a small lead over Trump, but it's not a big difference. There are some important states called swing states where the election could go either way. These states are super important because they could decide who wins. When Harris wins enough swing states, she'll likely win the election. Another thing to note is the vice president pick. Harris chose Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, to be her running mate. A running mate is the person who is picked to help the candidate and would become vice president if they win. On the other hand, Trump picked a J.D. Vance, a senator from Ohio. This choice surprised a lot of people because Vance used to be a strong critic of Trump, but in politics, things apparently change quickly. Now let's talk a bit about how these two candidates are different. Harris's campaign is all about moving forward, bringing people together, and creating new opportunities for all Americans. She's really focused on healthcare and climate change. For example, she supports stronger action to stop climate change and believes in giving more help to people who can't afford healthcare. Trump, though, has a very different approach. He wants to bring back what he calls traditional American values, and he's focused on cutting taxes and stopping immigration. But here's where things get tricky. Some of his policies, like building a wall on the US-Mexico border, have caused a lot of division. He's also been accused of making things worse by encouraging racism and xenophobia. Now, xenophobia is a big word, but it means a fear, dislike, or hate of people from other countries. It's one of the criticisms people have about Trump, especially when it comes to his views on immigration. So, what does all of this mean for the election? Well, it's hard to say for sure because elections are unpredictable, but right now, it seems like Kamala Harris has a slight edge. A lot of people are tired of Trump's style of politics. It's aggressive, and many think it's dividing the country more than bringing it together. That said, Trump still has a lot of supporters. Some people really like his business-first approach and think he can help improve the economy. But, as we mentioned before, he's facing legal issues and controversies that could hurt his chances. For example, he's been charged with crimes like falsifying business records and mishandling important government documents. It has been reported in the media that he has received substantial support from neo-Nazi groups and far-right extremists. This is serious stuff, and it could make voters question whether he's fit to be president again. So, we've covered a lot today. We learned about the key vocabulary like candidate, vote, debate, and polls. We also talked about what's happening in the 2024 US elections, the differences between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, and what could happen in the coming months. Now, before we wrap up, I want to invite you to take your English learning even further. If you're looking to improve your speaking, listening, or just want some personalized help, consider booking a one-on-one lesson with me at Fluent English Academy. Whether you're a beginner or advanced learner, we can tailor lessons to fit your needs. Just head over to our website or send us a message on social media. We'd love to help you reach your English goals. All right, FluentCast listeners, that's all for today. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed this episode. See you next time.